I've noticed a funny thing happening when I post videos about adultery here on my channel. I will do videos talking about how my marriage of 24 years collapsed because I found out that my husband had been cheating on me for most of that time. Then I'll do videos where I show that I'm currently in a healthy, stable relationship. So here's the funny thing that happens: people freak out and worry for me. And then they'll ask me this question: how did you ever trust another human being after 24 years with that monster? And I think that's a really valid question that deserves an answer. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit of why I've been able to recover and be in a relationship without stressing out every single day that he's going to cheat on me too. If you're new here, my name is Jenny, and this is Life Take Two, where I share my harrowing escape from Mormon trad wife life. 22 years into my marriage with my Mormon returned missionary husband, I would discover that he had a double life, despite the fact that he was sitting next to me and the kids in church every Sunday, going to the temple, reading scriptures as a family, and a bunch of other behaviors that made me feel like he was super religious. Now, he was abusive, but I chalked that all up to personality disorders, rage control. It didn't make me think that he was any less faithful and righteous. I just thought he had problems. In addition to the problems, it turned out that he also had almost 100 affairs over the course of 22 years and then more after that. Basically, for most of our marriage, he was never where he said he had been, doing the things that he said he was doing with anybody that he said he was doing those things with. He was a lying, cheating hoe. And when I discovered all of that, obviously, like all trust that I had in him and humanity at large evaporated. Trust was no longer part of my vocabulary at all. And for a period of time after that, like I didn't trust anybody. If my kids said that they did their homework, it's like, oh, no, you didn't. If my dog went to the door and barked like he had to pee, I'd be like, oh, no, you don't. Just imagine for a moment how fun it was to date me. It was a disaster. In the beginning, I was hyper paranoid with every little mini relationship that I found myself in after my divorce. I had to have all the passwords to everything. I had to be in everything all the time. I had absolutely zero trust. Eventually, me and Kevin would meet and we would fall in love and move in together. And that pushed against my trust issues like nothing else in this entire world. Because dating, like, okay, well, they cheat on me, they leave, no problem. But once I started to have that connection and feel like I really wanted Kevin to stay in my life, I was constantly paranoid about every thought that he was having, everything that could possibly go wrong. And my stomach was in knots pretty much 24/7. I do want to point out here too that I have been in professional therapy for, I think, going on 7 years now. The reason that's important for me to point out is that I think that there are things that you cannot go through without mental health practitioners. Domestic violence, adultery, and divorce are three of the biggies. I would not be the person that I am today had I not had amazing, skilled, and experienced trauma and abuse therapists. Yada, 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 lots of therapy. Fast forward to today. Kevin and I have been together for almost 5 years. We've lived together for about 3.5 of that. And I would say that we have great trust in our relationship. And let me tell you the two secret ingredients to that I think are behind it all. So first up, we engage in behaviors that create, reinforce, and maintain trust. My first husband, if I was going to write a little recipe on how to have the perfect environment for somebody to cheat and be a general loser and have a double life, we nailed it. There was zero transparency whatsoever. I never had any of his passwords. I've never, ever been into his computer after 24 years of marriage. Never had. I wasn't on bank accounts. I never saw his credit card statements. I never saw his GPS. Nothing. There was nothing. There was 0.0 negative 10,000 really transparency. No accountability. If I asked him if he would be home for dinner by 6 o'clock, and he didn't come home for dinner until 7 o'clock, it's not like I could do anything about it. I would just look sad and I don't know, maybe have a little tear in my eye and stomp down in the bedroom. And that was it. There was absolutely no accountability. I couldn't enforce any boundaries and he didn't want any boundaries whatsoever. The lack of informed consent was such a big deal. The fact that he could go off and spend money on anything out of the bank account and the credit card and whatever, that actually allowed him to have all of these very expensive affairs because we didn't have any type of agreement where I had to sign off on expenditures or even know what was going out or what he was doing with his time. He would leave for weeks at a time. There was a time period where he was gone for the most of 2 years. We lived in Oregon. He had a business in Florida. He just decided to live down there. We weren't even in the same state. And I didn't consent to that. He didn't ask me ever for anything. And if I had stepped into a second relationship with somebody else with all of those factors, I would not have the trust that I do today. My nervous system would still be riled up all the time. And I don't think that I could be happy. I know I couldn't. I could not be happy at all. Here's some of the things that Kev and I do very differently than my first marriage that foster that environment of trust. On the transparency, full access to everything all the time. I will pick up his phone and say, hey, I'm just for my own mental health doing a quick little scan of your phone. And that's really random. He shares stuff with me all the time anyway. But I will just on a Saturday morning while he's still asleep, pick up his phone, open his computer, go through the text, make sure that everything looks okay to me. We have Live 360 on all of our devices, so everybody knows where everybody is at all time. And part of that transparency too is open and clear communication. We both have ex-spouses and ex-girlfriends, boyfriends, and people that we still like see around town and stuff. And those conversations are never hidden. If Kevin hears from an ex-girlfriend or sees somebody or whatever, that's just a conversation. Hey, I saw what's your face today. Yep, kids are doing great. Everything's fine. I know in my videos I talk about having 3 separate bank accounts, and we do, but his bank account that's separate from me, I have access to it. I can get it on his phone. I can see where everything's going. I can track it. I just can't take the money out. I don't think that in my entire time being with Kevin, there has ever been anything that I found out from somebody else that wasn't exactly the story that he had told me. There have never been any surprises where he was hiding things from me and wasn't completely transparent. The accountability is so great in our relationship. If Kev says he's going to be somewhere, or he was somewhere, or he's going to do something, or he has done something, it always checks off. And that repetition, that, making sure that he's always accountable. And if he's not, taking that accountability and being like, oh yeah, I wasn't there, I was here. It has calmed me down in miraculous ways. Like, when you see those people do those trust exercises and you just free fall, I feel like emotionally I can lean into Kevin and he will be there because he is always accountable. Informed consent, if there's ever any little thing that's off of like our normal anything, he brings it to me. We have conversations about where the money's going, or hey, I'm going up to Gilbert. I was going to see my daughter's play, but then I'm also going to go see those friends. Are you okay with me doing this or doing that? And we are pinging off of each other all the time, making sure that the other partner in this relationship is informed and gives consent of anything that's outside of the ordinary. And now for the second component to Jenny being able to trust this relationship or anybody. And I need you to really, really, really listen to this if you've ever been scarred by betrayal in a relationship. My trust in Kevin doesn't actually exist. He could cheat on me tomorrow. He could be cheating on me right now. I don't know. But I have trust in my relationship because I know that I survived the end of that marriage and I fell in love again and I was just fine. And should something happen to our relationship, I know that I have value and that I will probably find love again. Or if I don't, that I will have a happy life outside of him and outside of us. And until I was able to come to that place and have that deeply emblazoned in every cell in my body, I could have never been in another trusting relationship again. I trust myself to be able to get past it. Hope this helps. Now I'd love to hear from you.